not be supporting this bill.
Chris Ockenvold.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I rise with pride to support the minimum wage starting out wage amendment bill introduced by the Minister, Honourable Simon Bridges. My goodness me, Mr. Speaker, we've just heard from Barbara Stewart, in all ways a very pleasant person, but my goodness me, the response to this bill reminds me of that line from Shakespeare, "Methinks she protesteth too much." I can't see where the problem is. Where is the problem with providing opportunity for young people to get into work off the dole? Where is the problem giving young people a job instead of being on welfare? They would rather they stay on welfare. They would rather they didn't have a job. Does the Labour Party, do the Green Party not like young people? Because that's the only conclusion we can come to. Is the real reason lurking in the depths of the Labour Party mind to protect the union-established hierarchy of employment practice? I think that is the case. We heard Mr. Goff give it voice. We heard Mr. Goff say this will lead to job displacement. That's the real reason, and Andrew Little was right up there behind him saying we've got to protect the existing jobs. National does like young people and does want to help them, Mr. Speaker. This bill is pro-youth, pro-employment and pro-opportunity. I honestly commend it to the House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Speaker.
Sue Moroney.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This day, sadly, will go down as the day that the government officially gave up on young people. The day that the national government officially gave up on young people, and the day that the national government officially gave up on the brighter future. Because this bill does both of those things. It gives up on young people. It says that they are not worthy of a fair day's pay for a fair day's work. It says that this country is not going to have the brighter future, that government promised in 2 consecutive elections and still has not delivered on. And this bill is the reason why. Because they think that actually lowering wages is the way forward for this country. Mr. Speaker, lowering wages for whatever group in our society that may be is actually a downward economic spiral, and it's going in the wrong direction to where this country needs to go to. Because, Mr. Speaker, when wages are lowered, in this instance for those people aged 15 to 19, they have less money to spend. And if they have less money to spend, then there is less work in our economy. Because when money is not being spent, then we have fewer jobs. We have fewer jobs in our economy, not more. And I think that that's where this government has got it so wrong. It's a very basic economic theory. It's not hard to understand. It's been proven time and time again that a high-wage, high-skill economy is the way forward for countries like New Zealand. Because when we have high wages in our country, then spending occurs and the whole economy lifts up. And that's how work is created, because there is a demand driven up because people have money to spend. And if people have their spending power reduced, then that is the path to economic decline. And that's exactly what this government is up to. It's given up also pretending that this piece of legislation creates jobs. Even the government itself, when they started out on the first reading of this bill, they argued that this was going to create jobs. But they've all stopped even arguing that, because it is plainly ridiculous to keep up the pretence that cutting wages creates jobs. It does no such thing. In fact, as I've just demonstrated, it actually reduces the number of jobs available in our economy. I want to give some very real information to the House about where the real problem exists. In the Waikato Times 2 days ago, on the front page, the banner headline screamed out to people in the Waikato, "Jobless, fight for work." And that's the true reflection of where that government has got this country. The jobless are indeed fighting for work. And what that story detailed was that in the Waikato, people on the unemployment benefit increased by 33% just between September and December last year alone. 33% more unemployed people in the Waikato region just in the last 3 months of last year. And if you compared unemployment figures in the Waikato to December 2008, there is a massive 65.9% more unemployed people, more people getting the unemployment benefit in the Waikato now than there was in December 2008. And that's what the real problem is. It's not the amount of wages being paid to young people, it is the absolute dearth of jobs available in our economy. And until the government gets real and fixes the real problem and stops blaming young people for the plight and starts looking at itself in the mirror about its lack of a plan, then we are going to continue to struggle as a country. It is sadly the day that they gave up on young people and the day that government gave up on a brighter future for New Zealand. I think when the new minister, Simon Bridges, came into his new role as Minister of Labour, it was a significant promotion for him, there was a lot of hope that he might bring a new, young, shiny approach to National Party policy in that portfolio. But what this shows is that he's just following the same tired, old, lazy policies of every national government that has ever been in power in this country. Because every time we have a national government in power, doesn't matter what part of the economic cycle we're in, whether we're in a recession, whether we're in good times, or whether we're in the middle of that cycle, the National Party always has the same tired old approach, the same lazy answer to what they want for New Zealanders. And what they want for New Zealanders is low wages. They've proven that time and time again. Every single time that's been their formula. This time, they think they can get away with it under the cover of a recession. But if you look historically, Mr. Speaker, it shows that every single time we've had a national government in place, they have gone after workers' wages. This time, they're using the cover of high youth unemployment. They say that because young workers are overrepresented in the unemployment figures, then therefore the solution is to actually discriminate against them by having lower wages. Well, what's to stop this government from using exactly that same theory when it comes to Māori workers, who are also overrepresented in the unemployment figures? Are they going to use the same justification? Are they going to say, that's right, that's where their argument leads us. Because are they going to say, let's say Māori get only 80% of the minimum adult wage? Because that's exactly the argument that they're using for young people. Pacific Island workers are also overrepresented in the unemployment figures. Is Simon Bridges going to have the same solution for those workers as well? Because if they apply their failed thinking for young workers across the whole scenario, well, Simon Bridges says it's very different. And I'd be interested to know why it's very different. Because the only argument that this government is putting forward is they've failed young workers, they are overrepresented in the unemployment figures, and so therefore they have to actually lower their wages. They've also spent their time talking down young people. Well, according to Mike Sabin, if the minister listened to his contribution to this debate, they all lack skills. All 15 to 19-year-olds lack skills. Well, now he's saying he didn't say all, but the only thing he had to say about young workers and their contribution to the workplace was to denigrate them, say they lacked skills and say that they lacked experience. So they have no understanding of the value of young people. That's why they are quite happy for the youth of this country to be exported to places like Australia, because they don't understand the value of young workers to this country, to their families and to this economy. Mr. Speaker, it is no wonder we are losing our brightest and best and our young, bright future to Australia. That's where they're headed under this government. This piece of legislation will even make that departure happen at much faster rates. Families will lose their young people to Australia because there is no brighter future for them in New Zealand under a national government.
Dr. Cam Calder.
Mr. Speaker, it's a great pleasure to take a brief call on the third reading of the minimum wage starting out.